Harith sir, we can go live.
Okay. Namaste. Welcome to day 3, the concluding day of the 3-day IACC webinar on textiles. All the proceedings of day 1 and day 2 are live on YouTube. Thank you for being here. Thank you for moving towards $100 billion of collaborative bilateral trade in textiles between our nations. Every effort counts and every effort wins. Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, the IACC Textile Forum, is mandated to reach this trade between our two great countries. It promotes the buying and selling of US and Indian goods and services across the entire textile supply chain. We are an active panel of experts and all services are free. We urge you to please sign up at the IACC Textile database. This enables the US companies to reach you and you them. On day 1 and day 2, we saw how India has everything that the US textile supply chain needs, with oil to yarn to dyes, chemicals, fabrics, garments, accessories to made-ups, technical and non-technical fabrics. India has it all. India is a perfect contract manufacturing partner and a hub for you, the textile industry of the United States. Indians honor intellectual property, respect contracts, the rule of law, and transparency in their dealings. Many Indian companies are RAP and RSL compliant. There are many economic zones and special economic zones in India where US investments have seen captive producer plants for shipments back to the United States. These companies have been enormously successful, and many American firms now seek Indian joint ventures and direct foreign investments than any time ago. There are 7 under final stages as we speak. Through day 1, we learned what we can buy from and sell to the US. On day 2, we saw sports textiles, organic textiles, yarns, technical textiles, home textiles, and India's ability for bilateral trade. And today, on day 3, we will see India's offerings in dyes and chemicals and machineries for bilateral trade. As promised, we will also learn how Indians can set up businesses in the United States. When done properly, partially ready to finish fabrics and made-ups can be exported from India to the US, finished and packed in your company so that it can get the tag made in the United States. And you could possibly take part in the tenders of the United States Department of Defense as tier 1, 2, and 3, and all the other advantages that made in the US offers. Please visit us at the IACC Textile Forum. Sign up your company at the free textile database. Thank you, our partners, Sutlej Industries, Wellspun, Colorant, and Indocount, and our media partners, the Yarn Bazaar, Textile Excellence, Textile Mirror, Textile Value Chain, and the PhD Chamber of Commerce. We are live on YouTube and live on Zoom. Have a question? Please write to us at textileforum@iaccindia.com, and today's Zoom chat. This session will be closed and summarized, and all your questions will be answered. Towards the end, it will be summarized by our Mr. Sharad Tandon, CEO of S. Tandon Consulting, our advisor at the IACC at the end of this session. So let's get started towards Indo-US, $100 billion of collaborative bilateral trade in textiles. Nothing gets made unless a machine is attached to it. This panel discusses textile machines that both nations can buy and sell to each other. We have a special guest from the US, Mr. Chip Coker. Welcome. May I please welcome Ms. Amoli Shah, CEO Prashant Damatex, who has bought out an American company, brought its technology to India to moderate this panel. Ms. Shah, welcome.
Thank you, Harit Bhai. Good evening, everyone in India, and very good morning, everyone in USA. I'm Amoli Shah, and I'll be moderator of this panel, Textile Machineries and Equipment Opportunities. With me tonight are Mr. G.V. Aras, is Executive Director of ATE, having 30 years of experience. ATE is India's largest machinery agency. With us tonight, Mr. Chip Coker, live from USA. Welcome, sir. Mr. Coker is a managing partner and founder of Coker and Associates USA. He's having 18 years of experience. Coker and Associates deals with US machinery liquidation, and they sell machinery to over 40 countries worldwide. We have with us Mr. Sanjeev Lathia, CEO of Lathia Rubber. He's also having 30 years of experience. Lathia Rubber is manufacturer of rubber rollers, linings, blankets, and other industrial products. Gentlemen, please introduce yourself and your company in 60 seconds. We'll start with Mr. Chip Coker.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me this morning. Our company specializes in liquidation of textile factories. And in the past, a lot of people associated this with companies in the US going out of business, but we're really seeing very little of that now. Mostly what we are participating in is consolidations, buyouts, and when companies here are purchasing new machinery, we're taking the old machinery and helping assist them in the finance of their new purchase by selling this machinery overseas. Over the last 20 years, we've sold approximately $500 million in used textile machineries to over 40 different countries. India represents, in general, 50% of our sales each year. Over the last few years, we've seen the domestic purchase of used machinery increase, but still, India is our main partner and our main selling market. We have an office in Mumbai to provide additional services there, and we're always exploring different ways that we can enhance the buying experience of used machinery for our customers.
Thank you, Mr. Coker. Mr. G.V. Aras, can I request you to introduce you and your company?
Thank you very much. Good evening and good morning. Just one correction. I no more work for ATE. I have retired from ATE Group. I was the director for 16 years and I retired on 31st March 2021. Now I am in the role of strategic business advisor and mentor for 4 companies. One of them is a German company called APS GmbH under RWTH Aachen University. This is specialized in robotics and automation. And the endeavor is to bring this technology and training to the Indian shop floor technicians as well as to students. In addition to that, I advise 2 textile machinery companies and 1 big textile chemicals company. My role is basically to mentor the senior management of these companies, as well as help them in their growth strategies, as well as their business strategies. So I'm very happy to be here. I thank IACC to invite me to join this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aras. Mr. Sanjeev Lathia, please tell us about your company.
Good evening to my friends in India and good morning to Chip and all the Americans who are joining in. At the outset, I'm very grateful to respected Suresh Bhai Kotak and Harit Bhai and the team at Indo-American for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to represent my company. We make parts of machinery, basically rollers, which are used in warp preparation, as well as the processing side. We also make rubber belts for finishing and shrinking of fabrics. These are products for textile industry. We make other products for other industries, including defense, where I'm a tier 2 supplier to the Indian Armed Forces. We've been doing business with textiles for more than 70 years. And we are active in around the Indian subcontinent, but not US. We have an American technology partner, and we've been partners for more than 3.5 decades now. So thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev Bhai. I'm very happy to inform that we have a very diverse panel and our panelists have huge experience in their field. So I'm sure after today's session, our audience will be greatly benefited through their experience. So I think we'll start our session. And my first question is to Mr. Araf. Can you please tell us that what kind of machinery you feel US companies can source from India, and what machineries you feel are in demand in USA, but Indians cannot yet fulfill?
Thank you. See, first and foremost, the American textile industry was doing great a decade ago. However, the industry has shrunk a lot in last few years, and there are not many reputed textile machinery manufacturers now present. Still in India, people recollect the names of some of the strong brands from USA like Morrison, Tubetex, then Vanguard in knitting, Argus in fire protection, SDL Atlas in laboratory equipment. And now, as far as the opportunities for the Indian companies is concerned, there are very limited opportunities, to be very honest, because the industry has shrunk a lot. The biggest opportunity, in my opinion, is for the spinning industry, because the spinning industry, particularly in US, has started doing very well post the Xianjing cotton episode of China. I think India is quite self-sufficient in spinning machinery. The technologies are absolutely contemporary compared to the Europeans or Japanese. And I think there lies a great scope for India to supply spinning machinery, including open end also, because in USA, open end sector is doing quite well. Second one, I personally believe is that, India has an advantage. Indian textile machinery industry has an advantage in terms of design, low cost engineering, and therefore for any kind of niche machinery manufacturer for special applications, for example, like finishing coating, I think India can offer a tremendous value at very reasonable prices, can offer the technology, which is quite comparable. Then thirdly, I personally believe that the knitting industry and weaving to some extent, but knitting is also growing. So in India, many knit finishing machinery makers have grown quite a lot in last few years, and they are successful in supplying to the world market now. This is one area where I feel the Indian machinery makers can definitely chip in to help the United States textile makers. And the products which you say India cannot supply are obviously India is very weak in weaving and knitting. So unfortunately, although knitting industry is growing in USA, we don't have any knitting machinery manufacturer in India. We don't have any loom, high-speed loom manufacturer in India. So a large part of this opportunity will be lost. Similarly, the technical textile industry in USA is doing quite well, as I understand, especially the non-wovens also. But unfortunately, again, we don't have any machinery makers who can take advantage of it. Rather, India would be depending on US to bring this technology to India. So this is the situation, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. As you said very correctly, that once upon a time, US has a very huge potential, but unfortunately it has sunk. But you point out very correctly that I think spinning, knitting, and finishing coating has definitely a niche market. In this line, my question is to Mr. Chip Cocker, that, okay, what do you feel that Indian machinery manufacturer can import from US as part of machine for further production in India?
Well, here in the US, we used to have a very large textile machinery manufacturing base. Most of the US manufacturers of textile machinery went out of business in the 1980s and 90s. The only remaining US textile machinery manufacturers are mostly centered around dyeing and finishing. In the past week, I had a meeting with ITEMA, And in the past, they were representing Savio for twisting operations. And he informed the North American director for ITEMA informed me that they had recently placed a large installation of 2-for-1 twisters here in the US. And as I questioned him more about it, he informed me that these machines were all made in India. And I think that with the increase in the spinning industry here and the level of technology available on spinning machinery there in India, there's a big opportunity for Indian companies to have greater representation in the US and sell new spinning and spinning related equipment into the US. One thing that I think could really help them do that would be to have a representative office that offers consulting services and technical services. More and more, the experienced textile people here are aging out and retiring, and very few of the young population are wanting to enter into the textile industry in the US. For this reason, almost across the board, all textile industry in the US are experiencing not only a labor shortage, but a consultancy and technical knowledge shortage. And they're desperate for this type of help. I think there's a big opportunity for Indian companies to not only offer spinning and spinning related machinery, but also technical consulting services.
Okay, that's very interesting point, Mr. Cocker. My next question is for Mr. Sanjeev Lathia. What steps you recommend for small and large companies to increase textile machinery business with US, Sanjeev bhai?
We just heard, from Chip and Mr. Aras that the American industry has shrunk, but it is still a pretty large this thing. If you take a look at the statistics, America is always in the top 10 or top 7 countries importing machines. If you look at ITMF figures and things like that, so it used to be giant, but it is small now. For Indian companies, Chip has very correctly said that there must be a local representative who is knowledgeable about the products and knowledgeable about textile industry. That way you can do both, help solve a customer's issue and increase your sale. And in these days, you have to have a very strong digital presence, online for now, with all information, technical and stuff like that. And regular calling, build up personal relations. We heard in the past few days how personal relations were important in increasing the Indo-American trade. And some people came down with their families and enjoyed the marriages and things like that in India. That would also help when you build up relations. So those would be the most major things that I could think of.
Okay. Now see, even in yesterday's session, we heard a lot about technical textile, and in USA, technical textile is a very grown field, but in India, we are still growing. So, Mr. Aras, my question to you is, like when we talk about machinery for technical textile, what machineries Indian manufacturer can bring from US?
Yeah, good question. While in 80, we had a complete end-to-end solution for technical textiles. We are still at initial stages of technical textile growth in India, but this particular sector holds a very big potential. In United States, there are some companies which I know, like Hills Group, which are in extrusion of fibers, filaments, synthetics, as well as non-woven machinery. I think what I feel is that the presence of American machinery makers in India is not that visible. And actually, most of the times we see, whether in technical textiles or any other areas, you will find the field is dominated by mostly European manufacturers. So first and foremost, I would say there is a large scope for technical textile machinery makers from US to sell in India because it's a growing economy. The consumption of technical textile is on rise. Number two, India imports huge amount of technical textiles. Just few examples like, even the belts, safety belts of cars, a lot of simple items like sanitary napkins and, diapers. I personally believe that in the high-tech technical textiles, United States has a better experience. They can definitely, I think, guide our companies. I personally believe that technology transfer will be a better thing to do. The companies who are successful in United States in technical textiles can join hands with Indian manufacturers and guide them. And the machinery makers, for them, although India is not a big market, but if they have some kind of joint venture or collaboration with Indian machinery makers, particularly Government of India is thinking of promoting a SEZ, a special export zone for technical textiles, in which case it makes perfect sense to have a joint venture to make the machines in India, and not only for the India, but the entire Indian continent and the Far East side, they can supply the machines. So there are opportunities, small opportunities here and there, but the next decade, if you see, I think technical textile is going to grow tremendously in India, and United States can certainly take part. One is for technology transfer, secondly, guiding the companies to manufacture niche and import substitute products. Only just one thing I forgot in my first answer. Okay. There is, I think, Chip can correct me if I'm wrong. I also understand that the digital printing is growing quite a lot in United States. And for this, although India doesn't have any, digital printing machinery maker, India is very strong in pre and post treatment of digital printing. And correct. There, I think Indian textile machinery makers definitely have a large opportunity in the US market. Even
I feel the ginning machine, I think Mr. Michael
also. Yes,
so Mr. Chip can also tell us more about the ginning machine as well as the digital printing, what Mr. Aras is asking about. Mr. Chip, I think my next question is for you again in this line only. As you said before that once upon a time there were many textile mills working in USA, but today that number has gone down. So as an Indian machinery manufacturer, what would be our role, or can we do anything to revive textile mills in USA?
Well, I think the largest opportunity for Indian manufacturers of machinery there are to open a representative office and offer technical and consulting services. There's less and less people offering help to the factories here from a technical standpoint, and most of the mills that I speak to are starved for this information. As a matter of fact, many of the US companies have someone from India within the company. Usually when I find the situation, they're the most knowledgeable and technically savvy people there who are helping to make the company run efficiently. I think there's a very big opportunity for Indians to open an office here and offer both their textile machinery products with service and consulting.
Great. Mr. Sanjeevi, my next question is for you. I think, would you like to invest in America in a collaborative manner as a joint venture or technical collaboration for further process or getting a brand name?
Personally, and talking on behalf of the Indian textile engineering industry, what Chip has said is very right. Make here, sell there, or, if it's a very high-tech equipment, supply parts, they can be put together in the US with some of the US manufactured stuff. And then this thing, as Mr. Aras said, a joint venture or something, not a pure technology transfer. Just to talk about something like technical textiles, and Mr. Chip can add more light to this. Quite a few of the American technical textile manufacturers have set up a joint venture or set up their own companies here, and we deal with quite a few of them who are making all these technical textiles in India for the Indian market. So, but setting up a joint venture in US would be more difficult with what Chip has just said. The shrinking of technical expertise there.
But I think to bring in a brand from there to here would be probably the better option.
Yes.
Okay.
Amuliji, I'll just add one point if you allow me.
Sure.
What Sanjeev said. United States companies have played a great role in some of the companies here. There are joint ventures or 100% holding companies in India in technical textiles. One is Strata, and another one is caps. They are big success stories in geosynthetics and other products. And the way infrastructure investments are going on in India, I think this field is large for United States companies to invest. But one advantage for Indian machinery makers is that particularly in strata, I have seen that the coating line is manufactured by Indian company, Yamuna Machinery, under complete guidance and technical know-how given by Strata USA team. I think this is a wonderful example of growing together and making a success story.
Definitely, and that's the purpose of this whole session also, or seminar also, to increase the bilateral trade. So that's very well said, Mr. Aras. My last question is to Mr. Chip Cocker. What advice would you give to Indian textile machinery manufacturer on how to reach US buyers?
I think the best way to reach US buyers is have a representative office here in the US. Most of the textile companies here, they respond much better to in-person visits. And if you have someone who could assist you in that operation here in the US to go out and visit all of the people, it would greatly enhance your opportunity to sell Indian machinery here in the US. Attending the Technical Textile Show here would also be a benefit. Last week, the Technical Textile Show took place in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, and there were many Indians present in this operation. So to best reach the market here, I think you should have an office and partner with someone to help introduce you to the mills, because most of the managers at these factories are all relationship based, and they're going to receive you based on who they know and do they know you in the past. And there's a lot of technical people who are willing to offer consulting services to Indian machinery companies.
Okay, okay, thank you. I think I saw a few questions from audience. So Rakhi, do we have time to take those questions?
We will take it at the end from 8 o'clock to 8:20.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay,
But
okay.
please be online. All the panelists, please be online.
Sure. So I'll just sum up. I
Yes,
think
please.
very important point already discussed by our panelist. I think there is definitely scope for ginning machine, technical textile machinery, finishing machine, coating machine to be imported from USA. I think USA is more like a niche market, cotton growing company, and the sportswear, technical textile, organic fiber, those are it's very important portion of USA. So I think as an Indian machinery manufacturer, we have to take the two-pronged strategy. There is a good combination of we can have a joint venture or collaboration with known American companies. We can hire their technology. We can do the technology transfers. That is one thing. And probably, as Mr. Koch said, that we need to open the representative offices in USA, and that will definitely help us grow the business. So I really thank all of you panelists for sharing your expertise. And I would like to thank IACC for providing this platform to increase the bilateral trade between US and India. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shah, Mr. Latia, Mr. Coker, and Mr. Aras.
Thank you.
With yarn spun and extruded fabrics formed, we now move to an integral ingredient that brings textiles to life: dyes and chemicals, all environmentally compliant to REACH and RSL standards. This Indian industry is a global force. Its products are sold worldwide, and possibly new joint ventures in the offing of making it in the United States. Please welcome Dr. Mahapatra, Business Head, Sri Pushkar Chemicals and Fertilizer, to moderate this panel. Dr. Mahapatra.
Mr. Mahapatra is connecting his audio. Yeah.
Okay. May I commence with the panel then? We'll wait.
Can see you, Mr. Mahapatra. You can start.
Yes, connected.
You have to unmute.
Sir, you are on mute. Mr. Mahapatra, you are on mute. Yes, sir. Perfect. Sir, we can't hear you.
No, sir, you're not audible. Harit sir, can we go ahead with
I am calling him. I'm calling him.
Okay. While we wait for Dr. Mahapatra to start, perhaps we can have the panelists introduce themselves in the meantime. Mr. Saraf, may I request you to go first, please?
Sure.
Tell us what you do, what does Sarex does.
Sure. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to interact with so many different people, and a very good morning to America and a very good evening to India. I'm Prakash Saraf. I'm the managing director of Sarex Chemicals. It's a family-run business. It was a company which is there since 70 years. We do export to about 80 countries and are a 2-star export house. Our focus always has been to offer solutions to customers rather than selling products. And our endeavor has been to understand customers' problems and sort that out. Sarex is probably one of the only chemical companies which has a Marks and Spencer accredited lab, and is also a company which is a Blue Sign partner since 2 years. One of the only non-multinational companies which is so, apart from the likes of our Chroma and Huntsman. I think we have business with America. We've been exporting to America our specialty products since about 8 to 9 years. And we would like to work more closely with America.
Mr. Chari, may I welcome you and request you to say something about your company and your products?
Namaste, Haritji, and thanks to you and Indo-American Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity. Namaste to all who are present here. My name is Sunil Chari. I'm the Managing Director of Rosari Biotech Limited. Rosari Biotech is a listed company now with a market cap of nearly 8,000 crores. We are a zero-debt company doing very well, and we just acquired 4 different companies in the last 2 months. Rosari is India's largest textile chemical manufacturer, and all on the panel are my friends, Anjani ji, Prakash ji, Mahapatra ji, and of course, Harit ji, I know you for long.
Thank you. Mr. Prasad, welcome. Could you tell something about our Chroma and yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Anjani Prasad. This is my 4th decade in the industry, and I have seen the whole transition from the 90s, the 2000s, now this last decade. Our Chroma was a genesis from Sandoz, and then we became Clarion. Then we acquired Herx, and then we went ahead to form a company called Chroma by the SK Capital, which is US based anyway. And then we acquired BSF2 entities, mainly in the home care, on the detergent side, and also on the textile side. And one more company, which is mostly in the automotive area, is Endoman, which we acquired. So we have amalgamation of 5 companies, 5 multinationals. We are the ones who actually made this whole transition of getting this in a consolidation of this industry after the whole transition happened from US to China, and now India now coming up in a good way. We participate in all the markets of textiles all over the world, including US in a big way, and the Latin America and the Central America. We are also in paper, leather, and also we provide sustainable solutions in all the segments. You can visit our Chroma systems, and you will find all around home textile, fashion, denim, technical textiles, and many other areas where you can see all the processes which are more towards safe, efficient, and enhanced, more towards sustainability. Thank you.
Super. Thanks very much. What top 3 products do you feel that the US companies can source from India? Mr. Saraf?
I think some of the products which they can source are basically products for technical textiles and for defense. So I think some of the products could be like antimicrobials, flame retardants, and durable water repellents. I think that could have a large potential of business in the US.
Mr. Chari, what 3 products do you feel that the Americans can buy from India?
Rosari, as a company, manufactures silicone fluids, is the largest consumer of acrylic acid. So acrylic polymers, silicone fluids, and now we are amongst the top 3 surfactant manufacturers in the country. So surfactants could be good for the US market.
Excellent. Mr. Prasad, your take on this?
Yeah, basically, when you look at biotechnology is one area where there's a lot of possibilities we can do because of the natural products and also from the nature, a lot of products are natural dyes, and we need to do some kind of technology enhancement anyway for the scale up. As Sunil said, yes, silicons could be another area, mainly on the fluids, but we need also collaboration to develop the monomers. And also on the wax side, we need also the reverse help to go ahead. But surfactants, yes, I can agree that this is another area which we should work on.
We reverse the question now.
Yeah.
What can we source from the Americans as raw materials or intermediaries for further production in India? Mr. Saraf?
I think a product which we could source from America is they have been traditionally, they got Scotch Guard also to the world. So I think some of the monomers for fluororesins could be a potential product. They are also, I think, strong on certain triazine chemistry. So those are the kind of products which we can also source from, and they've traditionally been a nylon carpet manufacturer. So products for that can be got into India.
Mr. Chari, your take?
US is huge with shale oil and gas. So surfactants, derivatives from crude could be good, markets for India. Thank you.
Mr. Prasad?
Yeah, I agree. Sunil saying that the petrochemicals is huge in America, and that's the base of everything. But we move around a lot of products around and burn a lot of carbon footprints in supply mechanisms. So we need to really consolidate both the ends in terms of India and also from there. There, they are very strong in silicons with the DuPonts and also the fluor in the past. Though Europe also we do ourselves. Monomer is a big, because in Texas you see a lot of production. When the storm came in Texas, the whole world was collapsed on the supply mechanism. We have to really look at more on the intermediates and more on this petrochemical downstreams to take in to India. Also waxes a big way.
What 3 products do you feel that the Americans buy, but Indians still cannot supply? It can be open to anybody in the panel, all 3 of you.
Yeah, I can take the lead. 3D printing is going very strong now worldwide. And there we can see that, India is not a player in such a big way as compared to US, maybe also in Italy and to an extent in Turkey. But this is one area where we need to look at strongly. 3D printing is going to be a big future. And we have no colleges, no schools teaching about it. We need to get that also, moving. And 3D printing will be the future. No spinning, no weaving, no garment making, nothing, no processing. And there is a technology there. There are a lot of strong pigments and monomers. Also, the other big thing which we don't do at all is the polylactic acid, which is biodegradable polymers.
Mr. Chari, your take on this? What?
The world is gripped by Corona. So textile plays a big part in anti-Corona, and especially with disposable wear, protective wear, protective equipment, masks, wipes, these are all textiles. Some area which could make both the countries stronger for the world market.
Prakash Bhai, what would you say?
I think defense is where America is also one of the leaders. So if we can get some know-how from them for defense for textiles, it would also be a very big area which we can look at.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever considered kind of a joint venture with an American companies, maybe small in size, and do contract manufacturing for them here in India? Mr. Chari?
We are looking at a joint venture in US for the US, Latin and the South American markets, not necessarily manufacturing from here and sending, but surfactants, silicone fluids could be good area for cooperation where we could make, we have access to now raw materials which are made in India now.
Super. Prakash Bhai, what would you?
Yeah, we have already a tie-up with BASF and they're present in America. So we make an intermediary step for triazine for the Tinovin range of products, which basically goes as a UV absorber for plastic and coating. So we are already doing that with them in the US. And we were also looking at a tie-up on the textile chemicals with some of the companies in the Georgia area because it's primarily the nylon carpet area. So we are still exploring that possibility, but we've lost a couple of years due to this pandemic,
Excellent. Mr. Prasad?
Yeah, we are already a global company, so we have our
yes,
there.
Indeed.
But we also acquired of late, even in the near about America, is the Tritex, which is also from a Canadian base, and this really helped in going in for different kinds of formulations. But we have our own plants already there, so we are looking for more acquisitions anyway.
India has a lot of small textile, chemical, and auxiliary suppliers. What would you recommend they do to make themselves known to the American buyer?
Can I take on this?
Please.
Yeah, we need to really start talking about safe processing, because Americans will not with audit, and then in the chemical leasing and the audit process, it will not pass. So we need to start looking at even what we actually put it into our plant to have safe processes, the safe raw materials, safe manufacturing processes, and also look at developing into what can be safe for the consumers, safe for the mills also, and safe disposals. Now, these are the very important areas which we need to look at, because if we don't create a value around our company, small companies can also create value. I'm not talking small or big. The bigs can also destroy the value. It's important that it's the mindset to go more in this area of safe and more efficient processing and more enhanced value.
Mr. Chari?
India as a country is gradually gaining recognition in the world's specialty chemicals market, and so is it for the textile chemicals. Technology is something which is growing. Rossari as a company is working on a lot of areas on nanotechnology, and this is on nanosilver, titanium, nanocopper. And these are beautiful opportunities for us to showcase our colleges and our universities. As Anjali said that we are doing fantastically well with plenty of startups. The textile chemical industry, could gain a lot from these technologies which are coming, especially in specialty chemicals, to apply in the textile chemical industry. And this could be a showcase. The soft industry in India 10 years back showcased India to the world markets. Specialty chemicals could be now the next driver, especially when we understand that our skill sets for chemical engineers for engineers coming out of IITs and other technology institutes, including UCT and VJTI, is very, very good. The IQ levels are very, very good, and we could showcase to the world. One big issue has been there has been no investment in R&D in textile chemicals by the Western world, and this is where Rossari has taken a lead. We have 40 scientists working in IIT Mumbai, so we are the only specialty chemical company in India who has a lab in IIT where 40 scientists are working, and we are actively working on giving something new. Giving something to the world so that the world and India is proud of it as a specialty chemical manufacturer in the region.
Super. Prakash bhai, what advice would you give smaller or medium-sized textile, chemical, and auxiliary companies to reach the foreign buyer?
I think one important aspect which they should look at is taking part in more exhibitions, like ITMA, for example, or taking part at textile exhibitions. I've taken part in the US as a company. We've taken part. I think that is how people will come to know you. And meeting in person makes a pivotal difference. Once they see you, once they see what you have to offer, that makes a very important thing for the US buyers as well.
Super. What specific things, if you're in an exhibition, like what Dr. Raina asked yesterday to the panel, if you are in an exhibition and the buyer has to buy from us as India or somewhere else, what would you tell him? Why India for chemicals and dyes?
Would I take that? I think what India can offer over China and the rest of the countries is, I think, technical support. I think most of the, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Indian textile chemical companies have a very rich experience of hand-holding the textile mills, and providing solutions and support to them. That is where China just offers a product. They don't provide the after technical know-how. So I think that can be a very, very big role, a very big advantage for India over China and other countries. I think Mr. Prasad will be able to say a lot more on this.
Mr. Prasad?
Yeah, India is very strong as an exporter of dyes and intermediates. So everything around dyes, I don't think US there is anything around dyes. They just take the concentrates and try to make a dilution there in terms of dyes. So there's not too many dye industries still existing. So that's where they should really come to us. Also in chemicals, the knowledge levels of our people in terms of technology and the processes, because we don't handle masses like China. We handle all kinds of fibers and all kinds of niche. And we are actually more or less in a niche and not in a commodity as we come to export. And that's where we have a big edge.
Mr. Chari?
Harit bhai, what the world is going to is to sustainability. The world
is
back to natural sources. If I have to differentiate myself, I have to show how strong I am on my knowledge on my products which are biodegradable, what are sustainable, what are biosurfactants which we are able to bring in, what are preservatives, which are not carcinogenic, products which are new and not explored. Luckily for us, Rossari is into agrochemicals with oil and gas, home and personal care, products for animal health nutrition. And this helps us to cross-pollinate products from one specialty chemical area to other. And this is something which is helping us, catalyze our growth. And this is, we are working on technologies where polymerization can be done on a continuous basis. Right now, we do it in a 15-20 ton reactor, but the future is continuous. The future is automation. In India, we have softwares which can, which we should showcase to the world that we use this automation softwares in our plant. Come and have a look. Have videos to show or, virtually.
That's superb. That was my next question, Mr. Chari. What kind of digital systems would you recommend small and medium companies, see, all three of you are big boys. What should the small and medium do to make it consistent to what they deliver to the world and to the United States? What would you tell them to buy? Three things. What would you tell them to buy?
My role model is Anjani ji and Prakash ji, so both of them first.
Okay, Mr. Prasad.
Okay. So, I mean, one thing is that on the testing part, it's very important to have the right quality. So a lot of testing part, we need to get into it. Also safe processes, because the safety standards have to go up for the smaller units. And then how do we discharge our products, both not only air, but also water, and on the top we have solid disposal. Now, if we are not able to deliver that, I feel none of the brands will buy. If the brand doesn't buy, then our textile mills will not be able to deliver. So it's a full chain from the chemicals to the textile mill manufacturers and the brand, and then to the consumer. If you don't link that properly, and then we all have to play our roles, including the machineries, for more efficiencies. Now, if the machineries are getting more efficient, then we save more energy. And these things have to be really spoken about and make things better for smaller people also.
Prakash Bhai, what advice would you give to the small and medium? What three things that they should buy?
I think one very important aspect which all overseas customers look at is consistency. We have to ensure that our products are very consistent. There is no deviation from the standards we provide them. Another important aspect is delivery. I think most Indian companies, when I've traveled so much because of our exports, and most people are reluctant, if at all, to deal with India is because we don't deliver in time. And when not only do we don't deliver in time, we don't give them the right information. I think it is very important for all companies who want to export is to be truthful to your customer, to inform them what is going to happen and not tell them the material is at the port and it will sail and then it sails after 45 days because it is not left their factory. So I think that is a very important thing which customers will look at. And then I think, these smaller companies must look at innovation, because you cannot compete with the likes of China on commodities. So I think these are the three important aspects. One is consistency, innovation, and right time delivery.
Superb, Mr. Saraf. Mr. Chari, your advice?
Harit bhai, the world is also going towards problems in effluent management, problems with consumption of water, areas where we can reduce the amount of water, steam, heat required to process a kilo of fabric. Supercritical carbon dioxide is one area where we are working on. This is something which will help us do dyeing, of course, without our chemicals, but this is something where we need to work towards with dyes manufacturers and work on those. Another, big area could be dispersed dyes which do not require washing after printing. So you just print, do loop aging, and that's it. You don't need to. You can take it for finishing. So it saves a lot of water. There is also a lot of areas where we can do printing of pigments, which gives us a reactive-like feel. New binder technologies based on polyurethanes is something which could help us in the digital printing as well. Now we have products for pre and post treatment of digital printed textiles.
Superb.
Areas where all of us need to work together, work more to reduce the amount of water we use.
Excellent. Mr. Prasad, when we all mentioned about digital printing becoming very big, there are digital printers, machine manufacturers that force you to only buy their inks. You, as a third-party ink supplier, what are you doing to bring world standards, like a uniform standard that your ink can go in any printer, no problem?
Yeah, at the end of the day, when I look at this closed system, what we call, where the digital printing machines, they say that you buy the ink from us And fortunately, I was one of the patent holders and innovators of a new concept called Impresso, which with my team designed it for the digital
Congratulations.
printing. And yeah, thank you. And there we have developed a process where you can make ink on site, because normally the inks are coming in small carboys of 5 kilos, transmitted from say Europe to India with about 3 months of lead time. The shelf life is not good. So we make live inks at the printing machines, and that we can connect it. And the next stage is to connect it online. And we are also discussing with some of these printing machine manufacturers. And now the speed is increasing of the printing machines. And that's why the requirement of the technology to deliver this high-speed machines with the right ink and the right flow and the right surface tension, right conductivity, and high purified dyes, which require a lot of filtration to produce this high purity. And there's a lot of things to be still done. We have been able to successfully globally do it in reactives. Disperse still there's a problem for polyester in a way, but acid dyes is another area. The biggest area is home textiles, where the pigment for the digital printing has to be further developed. So the closed system, what people are talking about is few dyes there, but they have to also source from somewhere, like the chemical industry. But they don't make the dyes, they don't purify the dyes themselves. They do a part purification, but the base dyes are made somewhere. Synthesized is made somewhere. So still there's a lot of opportunity both in the closed system and in the open system.
Super. We are going to wrap up in 2 minutes. Quickly, Prakash Bhai, how did you get your first buyer in the United States? 60 seconds.
2 seconds. Okay. Actually, we had no exports to the US. Incidentally, my son went for his undergrad to the US. And I said, that's the reason if I have to go to see him, we have to do some business with them, right? So I just picked up my bag, contacted about 7 to 8 customers. And from 2012, as soon as he went there, touch wood, I met somebody at a hotel. We had a good chat, and that's how business started. And within 3 years, it became our biggest export market.
Excellent. Excellent. So, that's the true Indian entrepreneur spirit. Mr. Chari, how did you get your first first US customer?
We had a common friend, and he introduced us to our US distributor, and we have had a fabulous relationship the last 5 years there. We do good amount of exports, and we are lucky to have a good partner there.
You know, that is a very important point. Our Indian diaspora, 3 million of them, have at least 5 people. So we have 15 million ambassadors of India in the United States, and each one of us in India should work that channel. Thank you very much, Mr. Prasad, Mr. Chari, Mr. Saraf. Thank you indeed.
Thank you,
please stay back till the end. There might be some questions that would come. We now move to a panel that many Indians are waiting for, investing in the United States, but did not know where to begin. Both important states, these are the ones Indians could look at. Please welcome our Regional Director, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Rakhi Sikka, to moderate the next panel.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mehta. Good evening to everyone who is joining us today from India, and good morning to all of you joining us today from USA. I am Rakhi Sikka, the Regional Director of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, West India Council. But today I'm wearing a different hat. I'm the moderator for this session, USA State Representation. So for the last 2 days, we have been talking, and in fact today as well, we have been talking about Indo-US bilateral partnership. The whole conference is all about that. We all know that Indo-US economic partnership is at a very exciting phase, and the bilateral partnership is a level which has never been high like this. So, and what we have heard is among all the sectors, the sector that has been, contributing to this particular bilateral partnership is the textile sector. And this sector, as we all know, has witnessed a spurt in investment during the last 5 years. So today, to give further insights as in how to enhance the Indo-US bilateral trade, where to invest in, what are the opportunities, what are the legal aspects that's there in terms of investing there in US. We have 2 states from USA joining us as our state partner, the North Carolina and the South Carolina. So representing South Carolina is Richa Bhandari. She's the Deputy Director of the India Office of South Carolina Department of Commerce and leads the team towards attracting FDI from India to South Carolina. Richa has 15 years of experience, and in her current role, she's working as the Director of Outward Foreign Direct Investment. Richa has an in-depth understanding of the India market and works closely with high growth companies in India to identify potential outward investment leads. She is also responsible for maintaining a database repository of pre-screened and classified listings of business establishments that are looking or planning to expand their business outside India. So I would request Richa, if you can kindly give your presentation, please.
Thanks, Rakhi. Let me just share my screen first and give me a thumbs up if you're able to see that.
Definitely. Yes.
Great. Thank you, Rakhi, once again. A very good evening and good morning to all the presenters and participants who have joined us today on a Saturday evening to learn about textile and advanced material sector in South Carolina. Before I begin, I would like to say we all have one thing in common here, and no points for guessing. Irrespective of what's happening across the world, we all have gathered here to learn something new and explore new opportunities. From the late 19th century through most of the 20th century, the textile industry dominated South Carolina manufacturing sector. From premium automobile and wide variety commercial aircrafts to medical devices and luxury boats, South Carolina is now a state that produces advanced products. My name is Richa Bhandari, and I'm the Deputy Director for the state of South Carolina India Office. The India Office was set up in 2014 at the time of the then Governor Nikki Haley's first visit to India to attract Indian investments across different sectors, be it automotive, textiles, life sciences, chemicals, or aerospace. To summarize, any company which is involved in manufacturing, because in South Carolina, we like to build things. In next 10 minutes, I would like to answer some of the key questions. Why South Carolina? Business environment in South Carolina, some of the successful case studies, and what are the unique states benefit. Even though we are a small state with nearly 1/4 of the US population, population of the capital city, Delhi, the state has opened 6 offices globally. The first office was set up in Munich 40 years back, followed by Japan, China, 4th office in India, 5th office in South Korea, and 6th office in Taiwan in 2020. But where does South Carolina lies on the map? That was the first question asked 7 years back by most of the Indian companies. However, touch wood, we have gone past the stage now. But in the interest of the audience benefit, South Carolina is very strategically located right on the southeast part of the US, between New York City and Miami, Florida. The state is ranked 23rd in terms of the population, which is right in the middle of the 50 states with 5.1 million residences. This strategic location is within 1,000 miles, covering 70% of the US population. The state has the required infrastructure to take advantage of its location, including 5 US interstate highways, 2 Class A rail lines, and not to forget, one of the efficient and the deepest water port, which is Port of Charleston. It is also ranked number 6 in terms of the cargo-based value. And one of the most important features about the Port of Charleston is its truck in time. Now let's go and talk more about the business environment in South Carolina. We have been very successful in not only attracting new investments to the state, but also growing our existing industry base. In 2020, despite pandemic, the state has won 126 economic development projects, accounting for USD $4 billion investment and creating 11,000 odd jobs. Out of this total investment, new projects contributed 54% and 46% was by existing industries. But what accounts for the success in addition to its strategic location and transportation infrastructure? South Carolina offers a friendly business environment where companies can compete. It is consistently ranked amongst the top 3 to 5 states in the category shown below, whether it is business environment, workforce development program, shovel-ready industrial sites, which are available at a price between $10,000 per acre to $25,000 per acre. And also, not to forget, favorable regulatory environment, utility rate, and overall cost of doing business. It is also worth mentioning about the construction cost, which is 10% below the national average. For instance, just to give you an example, if a company is looking at building up a 50,000 square feet facility, they will be spending somewhere around $55 to $60 per square feet to build up the facility as a construction cost. Industrial power rates is somewhere around 6 cents, which is 4 rupees. But one of the most important factor over here that I like to highlight is the lowest unionization rate. And that is one of the most important reasons why South Carolina is called as right to work state. The unionization rate in South Carolina is 1.3%. Moving on, more than 1,200 international firms call South Carolina home, employing 158,000 South Carolinians, which is 7% of the state's private industry employment. The slide next shows some of the global brands which you can recognize. For instance, Michelin, Volvo, BMW, all located their first US production plants in South Carolina. Samsung recently opened their washing machine production facility. Toray is manufacturing high-performance carbon fiber for Boeing facility, as well as Cytec and Milliken, which is one of the state heritage textile industry and is homegrown in South Carolina. Last but not the least, Adidas, which has set up an sports apparel distribution and customer service center. There are some of the marquee Indian investments as well, which has been done by Indian companies. At present, there are 14 Indian companies which are present in the state. The first one that I like to highlight over here is TVS Sundaram Clayton, which is a part of TVS Group, which has invested close to $90 million and created 130 odd jobs. UPL into the chemical sector, another manufacturing facility. Himmat Singha, a textile company, which has set up a warehousing and storage unit employing 70 people, and Axis Skates, which has used the landing pad program of the state and started off with 2 people. So this is the Sundaram Clayton site, which is manufacturing high pressure die casting products for the automotive and non-automotive sectors as well. Talking about the advanced material sector in South Carolina. Today, it has a strong cluster of 800 firms employing 24,000 workers. And the materials that are produced in South Carolina by companies like Toray, Tigen, Integra support a wide variety of dynamic industries, including aerospace, automotive, and defense. And since 2014, the companies have invested close to $460 million in textile sector. But what are the key rationales apart from this infrastructure and strategic location? It is the unique state's benefit, which is also in terms of the incentives offered by the state. There are 2 types of incentives, which are statutory and discretionary. Statutory incentives are eligible for companies who are making an investment of $50,000 and creating 10 jobs, whereas discretionary incentives are for companies which are making an investment of $2.5 million and creating 10 to 12 jobs. These discretionary incentives are further negotiated based on 4 factors, which is the amount of investment, the number of jobs created, the location where the site or the facility will be set up, and the wages. The landing pad program that I just highlighted, used by IACC, is one of the most efficient programs for companies who does not have an existing presence in the US, however, would like to make South Carolina as a base to expand their operations in the US market. Under this program, the companies will get guidance on the business environment, assistance in finding office spaces, and also workforce requirement if they have any. In my experiences, a company generally start off with having a sales and marketing office if they do not have an existing client base, followed by a warehouse facility, and then followed by a manufacturing facility. With that, I would like to conclude my presentation and look forward to answering any questions. Thank you.
We'll take questions at the end of the session. So right now, Richa, thank you for taking us through the presentation, giving us insights on how to do business there in South Carolina and what are the opportunities there. Thank you so much. With regards to questions, yes, we have got a couple of them, which we'll take up at the end of the session. So that was South Carolina for you. Representing North Carolina, we have over here Rahul Padmanabhan. He's the director of North Carolina State Department. Rahul is a seasoned international business professional with experience of working in the international trade and investment over a decade. His areas of expertise include overseas investments, cross-border trade, business planning, new market development, internationalization, and market entry strategy. In his current role as the director of North Carolina, Rahul advises companies on the international strategies in the US. Rahul, through all his assignments, present and previous, has developed hand-on experience in assisting companies in various developed and emerging economies to expand into new markets. Over to you, Rahul.
Thank you, Raki. That was a very kind introduction. Once again, it's my pleasure to be here. I always enjoy working with IACC. My role keeps changing, but I keep coming back to IACC for in a different role. So thank you very much. Thank you all participants for joining us. I think you've already introduced me. So without further ado, I'll jump right in. My contact details are at the end. Please feel free to take note of it, discuss your projects, and then we can have a discussion offline in the interest of time. With that, I will jump right in. I head the North Carolina FDI market from Bangalore. We opened this office in 2018, late 2018. Since then, we have seen a lot of projects of different sizes, different industries. A lot of panelists mentioned about, even Risha mentioned about setting up a sales and marketing office. That's pretty much how a lot of companies have started and gone on to become really successful in the US market. I think that is a real key for it, and I'll highlight a little more about it in my presentation. But jumping right into North Carolina, I'll talk about 3 or 4 things that really matters from a business standpoint, generally speaking. One is, where is the state located? Where is your business going to be located? What is the strategic importance of locating your business in a particular state, particular region? So I'm going to highlight a little bit about the strategic location. Breach, spoke about this. Again, I can echo her thoughts. The workforce is really, really important. That's another thing that I want to really talk about. And generally doing business in the US. So I really want to talk a little in a broader sense of how the regulatory system, how the market is more free and more dynamic in nature for Indian companies to go there, export opportunities, and sort of create a win-win proposition for their office in India, as well as the new office that they will plan to open in the US. So strategic location, if you look at North Carolina in the entire US map, it is really located right in the middle of the East Coast. That gives a very, very strategic advantage in terms of access to people and access to suppliers as well. So you're in a location which is really competitive in terms of cost of doing business, but it is also equally advantageous for you to access customers. So that's a really key point that I would like to highlight here, because at the end of the day, you would probably not get many states which would have the combination of effective cost of doing business with a very large market for you to access. This is a busy map. I mean, you look at how well connected North Carolina is. You talk about extensive roadways. You talk about the air connectivity. You talk about the port connectivity. It is all right there. So if you look at the I-40, it runs from California all the way till Carolina. So that's a very, very important route that I would like to highlight. Next.
Rahul, you may want to shut your video because it seems like the network is a little not okay at your end.
Okay, no problem. There is a electricity problem that has come up, and his connection has become weak. So probably he'll try to rejoin us again. But in the meantime, if we do have any questions for Richa, then I think we should carry forward with the discussion. And in the meantime, Rahul can join us back.
Yes.
Raki,
yes,
over to you.
Thank you, Satya. So yes, we do have questions for Richa. Richa, when we talk about investing there in South Carolina or starting up a new office there, what is the minimum amount that an organization need to invest?
Thank you, Raki. Well, it's a very simple question. I would say there is no minimum investment which is required to set up in the US, or for that matter, in South Carolina. As I mentioned earlier in my presentation, South Carolina offers a landing pad program, especially for companies who doesn't have an existing operations in the US or a clientele in the US. The landing pad program is specifically designed for companies who wants to set up their footprint in the US. And they can do that by setting up a sales and marketing office in a co-working space as well. So to answer your question, if a company is looking to set up in South Carolina, they can rent an office space under the landing pad program, wherein the state would be able to help them in identifying the office spaces, recruiting people, and helping them with the attorneys to register their company as well. And once they set up, they can start off with employing 1 or 2 people initially, as it was done by Access Gates in 2020.
Thank you, Richa, for addressing that. What would be the approximate cost of registration, like you just mentioned?
Well, it varies depending upon the type of facility, the type of office that you are looking to register. But I think so there will be somewhere around, I'm not an expert in the for the financials, but yes, I think so it was somewhere around like $200 to $250, which is required to register a company. That's about it.
Okay. Okay. So, how do one ensure that the new company is fully compliant to the local, state, or the international law when they are registering?
Well, on that note, I would like to say we generally recommend companies to hire a local attorney or a law firm when they're looking at registering a company, because we don't want that towards, when they are looking at setting up the initial operation, they face any kind of difficulties, or once they've already set up, they face any challenges. So what we advise generally to companies is, and what we can do is we make introductions to the law firms and attorneys who can guide them initially in terms of registration, company registrations.
Okay, okay, good. Thank you so much for that. Now, when we talk about getting a registration or setting up an office there in US, the other thing that, the other concern area that comes into picture is the visa. So what is the maximum number of visa that an organization can get for the owner or the manager or the expert workman? And is there a to it?
No, actually, with regard, that's a very typical question, Rakhi, that I would that has been asked by every company wherever we go, wherever we meet them. So we have very, I would not say a straightforward answer, but yes, the visas are generally decided at the federal level, and the state does not have any role to play as far as visas are concerned. However, having said that, we have done what we have done in the past as a state is a very recent example, I would say, for one of the companies. I would not be able to name them, but they have gone through the normal process of getting the visa. However, in case, because of some reason or the other, the visa get rejected, then the State Department of Commerce can send a letter of recommendation to the embassy people that the company is looking forward to come to South Carolina for business or for setting operations. And for that, they can send the letter. But this is also not a surety that after sending that letter of recommendation, they will be able to get the visa approval. And as far as numbers are concerned, again, that's the same thing. I would like to say for Sundaram Clayton, just to give you an example, when the company started their operation, they have sent their CFO as one of the decision makers to shortlist the sites and to work upon to work as a project leader for that particular project. And he was the first person who went there and now is also settled in South Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you for because as we all know, it's a very sensitive area for a couple of people. The other question that we have got is there a particular number, as in number of people that an organization need to hire to get, to get their base there in USA? Is there a number of is there a number to the hiring parameter to set up an office there in US?
No, Rakhi, again, as I mentioned earlier, that there is no specific number that you require. If I have to say about, again, a sales and marketing office, you can even start with one person for the business development operation. That's about it. So there is no cap on the number of people that you would minimum require, that you're required to hire. That number or that cap will only come into place when we are talking about incentives which are offered by the state. And these incentives are applicable to companies who are making an investment of close to $2.5 million and creating minimum of 10 to 12 odd jobs. That's where the cap comes in if you want to be eligible for the incentive parts offered by the state.
Okay, good Good to know that. Now, when we are talking about having our operation there, manufacturing. So one question is, if I'm manufacturing a product and I would like to have a Made in USA label to it, what is the number of finished products that I need to manufacture to have that label in there?
Raki, to answer that question, I'll tell you, for a product to have a Made in US tag, they must meet specific criteria outlined by the Federal Trade Commission. And if in case to meet that criteria, then the product can come under the Made in USA tag. However, if you doesn't meet the criteria and you're assembling the parts in the US, then it will be categorized under Made in USA if you are assembling the product or maybe using some imported parts. That is also one of the criteria that you can qualify for. But to answer your question, I think so the apt thing would be, the most appropriate way would be to meet the criteria which is specified by the Federal Trade Commission. And this is more eligible for companies in the automotive, textile sector.
Okay, got it. So, do I pay the tax in US or in India, or how is the tax thing works out there?
Well, there are two or rather three type of taxes, Raki, which companies generally pay in the US. One is the federal tax, which is close to 21%. Then it comes the state income tax, or I would say state corporate income tax, which is somewhere around like 3 to 8%. But that is completely negligible because this state corporate income tax is only levied on the sales which are done within South Carolina. But if you are making any sales outside of the state, then this tax is not probably very significant. But if you're still paying, then you probably need to change your attorney. And the third part is the property tax, which is again depends upon the factors that I mentioned earlier. I would say where the facility is going to be operated, the amount of investment that you will be doing, the number of employees that you're going to be creating the job employment, and the wages which is going to be paid to these employees. So based on these four factors, your property tax are also, I would say, further negotiated. We have a FILOR property credits, I would say, which you can further discuss it with the county, wherein, for instance, if you have committed to make a $2.5 million investment, as per the norms or as per the rules set by the state government, you have to make that investment within 5 years down the line. However, under the FILOR agreement, this 5 year can be further extended. They can be further extended by the county if the county agrees for that. So 3 taxes predominantly that a company has to pay.
Okay, great. Good to know the taxes in details. Now coming back to the Made in USA label part. What I wanted to check with you is, can Indians send grease fabric for final finishing in US and get the label in place, get the Made in USA label?
Yes and no. Again, Raki, to answer the question, what we have seen, what I have experienced over the last 7 to 8 years while working with the state is that companies are setting semi-finished products to the state. They set up a warehousing operation, or I would say assembly plants or packaging plants. But for that also, if you have to meet the criteria, again, I would like to highlight, you have to meet the Federal Trade Commission laws, which has been set by the government. So probably you would be utilizing the machinery from the state, or making some products, if it is a semi-finished, or you're finalizing the product in South Carolina, or to be very precise in the US, then in that point in time, you can say that's a made in USA. But again, I would like to again reiterate the fact that it will be advisable for companies to work with an attorney or a law firm to get the exact, I would say, the norm and the regulations which are set by the government to get that made in USA tag.
Is there any website link or any, any website where all these criteria are listed out, which we can, share it with our members who will be interested?
Yes, absolutely. So South Carolina Department of Commerce, SCDOC, that's the website of the state government. And all the incentives related to manufacturing for companies who are looking to set up a service industry, or for companies who are even looking to set up a sales and marketing office, the landing pad program, everything is mentioned on the state's website. So, and if anybody wants to get more details, they can always reach out to me. We have our India office in Gurgaon, so they can write me on my email address. We'll be more than happy to share detailed information, and also specifically for companies. We have a very strong cluster of textiles and advanced material companies. So what companies generally want from us as well is that if they have, we can share with them the existing list of companies which are involved in the textile sector. So what they can do is that we will not be able to do a business development on their behalf, but yes, we'll be more than happy to share that list of companies which are already operating in the state, and then they can do the business development on their end. And if they find any suitable company, then we'll be more than happy to make, to suggest some kind of introductions.
That would be really great. So for all our participants here, if you're interested and you have any queries, do reach out to us and we'll connect you to the South Carolina State Department, Richa, over here. Now, the other question going forward with the Made in USA label stuff. So if I'm sending a finished fabric to USA for final customized packing that we get done in there, do we get a Made in USA label then?
No, that won't be possible again, because if it is a final product and you're just doing the packaging, again, this will come as a domestic or an imported part. So that I'm not really too sure would be able to get the Made in USA tag.
So we have, thank you so much, Richa, for sharing all the details. And in the meanwhile, we have Rahul back with us. Rahul, I understand your video is not working. Can you hear us? Rahul?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Perfect. So would you like to take us through the presentation quickly?
No, unfortunately, I'm not in a position to do that because there's a massive power outage here. But I would like to tell all the participants, I'm echoing a lot of people who have already spoken things about what are the opportunities that are there in the US. I was listening to a previous session by where Mr. Chip said, the best way to explore the US market is really to set up something there. It could be a sales office, it could be a rep office. It's really about who takes the lead in setting up something there. Now we expect a lot of US companies to come and collaborate with us, have joint ventures with us. But likewise, if companies see a lot of opportunities, the best way to explore the market is to go there and really be there, because having a local presence really matters. And you can keep knocking on different doors, and I'm sure there would be a time when some of these companies would actually recognize the kind of skill set and the kind of expertise that some of these Indian companies bring to the table. And that's where the real two-way trade, two-way investment really happens. So with that, I would like to say that my contact details, I'm sure, are with Raki and team. So whatever is your project, please discuss with us. Please discuss with IACC. Tell what is your need. Like Richa mentioned, we do not do business development activity. We would not be in a position to put you in touch with a customer or a particular company. But if you have a serious proposal to set up something there, and eventually you want us to connect with those companies, yes, we will be able to do our best to do that. So I would say I would encourage you guys to look at the US market in a different way, and really take the first step to go and set up something there.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you. Would you quickly like to share a success story of any Indian company setting up there in North Carolina?
Yeah, sure. So I was about to bring upon some of the diverse companies that we have really helped set up in North Carolina, and we've helped a variety of companies ranging from startups to heavy metal engineering, heavy IT guns, etc. But really, what I want to touch upon in one of those success stories is Bharat Forge, which has happened very, very recently. They've invested it's a pure greenfield project. They've invested about $175 million, creating about 450 jobs. This was a very, very tough win for us. I can say that because Bharat Forge is heavy on a lot of cost factors related to manufacturing, labor, real estate, and so on. So it was a tough competition for us. We really had to showcase what we have. So some of the primary factors that they really, that got us this win was the cost of doing business, the cost of overall operation of the business, including setup cost and so on. Availability of talent, that was another key element that the company was considering. And another key element that I wanted to highlight in my presentation is the seamless interaction between academia and industry. That was another key element for them. So North Carolina has about 54 community colleges, and that includes technical institutes. One of them is the North Carolina State University, Textile University, which is the only university in the whole of United States to have an exclusive curriculum on textile. So that was another key element for Bharat Forge success. So workforce, cost of doing business, strategic location, and the support that they got from the ecosystem. That was a very key factor that they considered and took the first step to set up something there. They set it up in record time of about 14 months, if I'm not wrong, and they're really very, very successful.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Thank you, Rahul. There's one more question that has come up is for IACC, we have a B2B portal where we encourage all our members to, put in their details. It works as a business portal wherein, you can look for partners with whom you can do joint ventures, and same way you can collaborate with others. Similarly, do you have is there any portal or any, website wherein if as an Indian textile manufacturer, if they want to collaborate with any US textile company, is there any website where they can get those informations? Sorry. Yeah, is there any website or a portal where we can get those information? Rahul, you there?
So as far as I know, I don't think there is a specific portal which would cater to specifically, sending in business queries and sort of having that kind of a connection. But we at EDPNC, we have a trade team as well who constantly look for opportunities from North Carolinian companies who are looking at, say, establishing joint ventures or looking for partners or distributors in India. you can certainly get in touch with them. I would still sort of be the point of contact. They can send those things to me, and we can put them in touch with some of the companies who might want to partner or do business with these Indian companies.
Great. So for all our members, if you're interested in setting up your operation there in South Carolina or North Carolina, you know whom to reach out to. So please get in touch with us or Rahul or Richa, and trust me, it will be worth every bit of it, and you will not be disappointed at all. So with that, since we have come to, it's already time, I would like to request Mr. Mehta to take over from here, please. Over to you.
Rakhi, just a second. Rakhi, I have something to both Richa as well as to Rahul.
Yes.
I'll just take a couple of minutes, a minute or more, not less than that. The whole point is that Richa and Rahul, thanks for joining us today. And we just wanted to understand what Rakhi was just trying to say all about. Textile Forum is one of the most vibrant committee and forum of IACC. We are trying to talk about something which we wanted to create a trade business scenario of 100 billion, and that is what we are trying to do. So, and the government of India thrust is also on textile. Is one of the industry which is a long time back, and the last 3 days, the discussions that we have been trying to talk about. The last 3 days discussion that we have been trying to talk about, we have been trying to focus on many aspects of textile, whether it is technical textiles, whether it is home textiles, or whether it is cotton yarn, which is very widely accepted product in USA, linen and segment of product. I think we are trying to, under the chairmanship of Mr. Kotak, Mr. Mehta, and Mr. Tandon, the forum is absolutely gearing up in a direction just to create more bilateral trade synergy with US. And this segment, I think I have discussed this with Richa and with Rahul earlier programs also. We are trying to create a database format where we are trying to bring up Indian textile together in one roof, and we want to discuss it out. What are the key products that can be talked about and that can be taken forward with the USA? So we have zeroed down the 2 locations, that is South Carolina and North Carolina, and that is what we want to progress at the initial stages of our B2B meetings. And we would like to understand from you going forward. Probably we would be needing a little bit of help and contribution from your side, that what we need to consolidate our efforts together in such a direction that we try to bring more and more investors linkage we could do with Indian and US manufacturers. And for that, we are now in the process of creating few product lines which are absolutely in need of US. So those product lines will be sharing with you. If you could help us with getting in touch with the US counterpart in your South Carolina Department of Commerce or wherever it is, and especially in EDP, Economic Development Partnership in North Carolina, I think it will be a very, very stepping stone to take this theme forward. Thank you so much. We shall get in touch with you in future, and we shall send all the relevant details about the forum, as well as the key products and the companies that we are trying to take it forward.
Sure, Satya, and we look forward to receiving that information from your end. And I'm completely aware about the fact that, yes, we did try this, I believe, 2 years back, wherein a delegation from India was planning to visit South Carolina and North Carolina. And we'll be more than happy to give our best of our efforts to bring the delegation to South Carolina and North Carolina. Probably Rahul can help it on that one, and make all those introductions, and not in terms of companies, but yes, to the people who will be beneficial from that perspective. wherein the companies can understand that what are the legal terminologies they have to keep in mind with regards to setting up an office, or the cluster of companies which are already there in South Carolina, the kind of companies which are operational. Everything will be more than happy. We have a trade team as well who looks after the trade part. So we will put you in touch with those people at the Department of Commerce as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Mehta.
Okay, thanks very much, Ms. Pandari, and we missed Mr. Rahul. I have received 4 questions for Mr. Lathia, Ms. Shah, Mr. Prasad, Mr. Saraf, Mr. Chari. Question 1. How much time did it take from your first sampling to your first commercial order? Mr. Chari.
Yes, good evening, Harit Bhai. It depends on product to product, but normally it takes from 4 to 6 months for the sample to be sent and then the order to come in. Sometimes it takes, a year or more also when there's iterations to be done in a product. So textile specialty chemicals is not an easy business to do. And especially when there is a lot of new requirements coming up, a lot of new compliances coming up. And if there is an EPA registration involved and US EPA registration involved, then it is a longer time and longer expense.
Prakash Bhai? Is Prakash Bhai with us?
Yes, he's on mute.
Okay.
It took us, fortunately, less than 2 months to get our first order. We were lucky. Another important aspect in US is TSCA registration. You have to ensure all your chemicals are TSCA registered. I mean, they have to fall under that thing, yeah?
Mr. Prasad, does this question apply to you?
We have a local team in US, so it goes very fast for us. But I would say that when for a brand like Levi's or any other brand, if you want to really make this whole thing happen in India, it may take easily 2 to 3 months for getting all kinds of approvals.
Next, does your American buyer also buy from another Indian supplier? Prakash Bhai.
On the dye stuff side, I definitely think they buy from other Indian suppliers. There are not too many chemical suppliers, the textile auxiliary suppliers to the US. But on the dye stuff side, they do buy from other suppliers.
Mr. Chari? Mr. Chari?
Yes, sir.
Does your American buyer also buy from another Indian supplier?
Harit Bhai, can you repeat the question? I just
Yes, indeed. Does your American buyer also buy the same product from another Indian supplier?
Yes, Mr. Prakash Sharaf.
Great companies. This is the formidable that, there is a big ocean out there. One doesn't compete with everybody and you cannot drink it all. And this is wonderful as a textile cluster. I am so happy to hear that, Mr. Chari. Excellent. Question number 3. Are the US buyers different from the Europeans in the way they order, their negotiation styles, and their relationships?
I will take this question, Harit Bhai.
Please.
Yeah. So what we normally see is Americans, have a shorter-term view compared to the Europeans. It is also seen in the way, a house is built in America and a house is built in Europe. Houses in Europe is built for years, and in America, people want change faster. The fashion scene also in the US market changed much faster than European terms. So change is more faster in US than in Europe.
Prakash bhai?
I definitely would agree with Sunil Chari that yes, I think the Europeans are a little for them to change to another supplier would take them a lot of more time than the Americans. But the volumes in America are tremendous. They can buy in much larger quantities than the Europeans. But their loyalty, I mean, you can't call that loyalty. They're very particular on price as well, whereas the Europeans would be a little more particular on quality.
Thank you, Mr. Chari, Mr. Prasad, and Prakash bhai. Now, the same three questions for you, Ms. Shah, Mr. Aras, and Mr. Chip Coker. Are you there? Okay. How much time did it take for you for your first machine drawing or to get your first order from an American company?
Okay, I'll take this. When we have tie-up with West Point, USA, I think first few orders we received from West Point only. They buy our machine, they did some processes, and then they further exported. If I tell about the joint ventures we have with West Point is the original inventor of sizing machine, and it is always benefited us to have a joint venture with such a well-known company. And that was a starting point. After that, as you know, that in USA, if we discussed that after 90s, textile machinery business was going down. Even the textile mills was not doing very good. But this has benefited us because in South America, all the South American countries and other countries, West Point name was very much known. So we got a lot of export order based on that.
Excellent. Mr. Lathia, your experiences with?
Yeah, our products have been indirectly exported through machines and Amoli Ben said, but Americans, as the other panelists have said, are very easy. They're very open to try. In terms of, as I said, we have a technology partner there. Very tough to get the technology partnership agreement going, this thing. But once you have the confidence, they're very open, very sharing, and there is nothing that is kept back, which is very, very good for as a technology partnership.
Mr. Aras?
Yeah. Harit bhai, I would like to talk on behalf of a company, a textile machinery company, which I advise. It's Yamuna Machine Works. They are in the finishing machinery. I think they had their initial success after a lot of hard work, because the Indian brands, a few years back were not that acceptable in United States. And basically, the purchases used to happen from Europeans, Japan. However, I think after the first purchase, and especially the experience of the company, apart from performance and quality, also about after-sales service and spare part supply. I think this is very crucial. One need to have a proper supporting team there, to help out the customer. Then only I think repeat orders come. However, I think during the last few years, virtually that market was dry. Not many investments happened, and which happened were only in the replacement market. But now I understand from this company that the awareness about improving quality of the Indian machinery manufacturers is well noted by many of the textile manufacturers in India. And I personally believe that if someone has supplied for the first time, there are good chances to get repeat orders if one has served that customer very well over the years.
Excellent.
If I can add to that, in our Indian textile machinery exhibition show, we always have, in the teens, American companies exhibiting and visitors from US also. So it's just like, as Chip said, you have to be there and participate in their shows. Be there to gain their confidence.
The way that the US buys is it different from the way the Europeans buy your machineries? Ms. Shah, Mr. Lathia.
Yeah, Harit bhai, I would say because we are in weaving preparatory machinery business. And as we discussed, in US, there is only a replacement market. But while in Europe, they are investing in new machinery. They are again in a niche market, very high value product. So for us, Europe is much bigger market than USA. That is for our range of machinery, weaving preparatory machinery.
But their negotiation styles between the two, whatever.
Basically, Americans are good marketing people, I would say. And Europe has, like, Germany is one thing. When you deal with Europe, Italy is another thing. I mean, it's vast difference. Their style is very different. So, but we are exporting to about 10 European countries. And I would say Switzerland or Germany, they have one level. And then if you talk about Italy and other countries, Romania, Bulgaria, they are at different level. So both has different style.
What is difference?
Well, honestly, see, I will feel that Germans, which Swiss people, they are very much price conscious, quality conscious, not price conscious, quality conscious. They don't care much about price. And they feel that our prices are much lesser than the European counterpart. So we don't need to negotiate much when we deal with some German customer or customer from Switzerland. But when it comes to like Romania or Bulgaria, their economy is very different and they do negotiate.
Thank you.
I would endorse Amoli's views very much with my little bit of experience on Europe. Very much it sounds the same. Europeans are very particular about the technology and the performance. Then they don't look at the price at all. But one thing, to get approved by a European company, especially Germany, Switzerland, Italy, I think it's very, very difficult to qualify for that. And once you qualify, then there is no looking back. So it's a little tougher to sell to Europeans, but price is not an issue at all. I fully endorse Amol's view.
See, Mr. Aras, price is not an issue, and you have to quality has to be up to you have to have the CE certified machine.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it is the first thing first. Otherwise, they will not even try your machine. And luckily, we have many repeat orders.
Absolutely.
We have a question for Mr. Saraf, Mr. Chari, and Mr. Prasad. Do you make specialty chemicals for saving the environment that can be sold to the United States?
Can I answer that?
Please.
Yeah, as far as the environment is concerned, one has to be careful that the specialty chemicals, especially like take surfactants. Every chemical has a problem somehow, and we need to understand where we can correct it. Like surfactants, for example. And people try to still use VOCs or solvents inside. So this is very dangerous for the wastewater. Even I will tell you, in terms of recycling, when we look at recycling of cotton, we use reactive dyes as one of the biggest product group for dyeing. But when you look at on the recycling front, it can't never be stripped because covalent bond. Now, the best way is to go in for something like sulfur dyes or maybe indigos. They can be easily stripped, and the recycling is what? You have to first strip, then you have to dissolve, and then you have to regenerate either into viscose or paper. That's one way of the chemical part of the recycling which goes on. And people have to, in the whole world has to understand sustainability, need to take care of what are we going to use in terms. The bioelimination is one thing which is very important. The one important thing I can tell every textile mill user, please be careful about the MSDS, what you get into and when you buy the chemicals. And it's very important to have an authentic check of all this data. We do an online MSDS. That means if I change one raw material, you'll get the whole information about the BOD, COD, and the bioelimination very clearly done. And this is where we have to really work on so that we can give very clear information to our consumers and the brand that what chemicals to use and what chemicals can be a problem, like phosphates or phosphorus-based products can lead to atrophication of the seaweeds. And there you have oxygen going down into the water. And we need to be careful why we use this. Even surfactants, I've seen people using lauryl alcohol-based products, which has got a high fish toxicity. So there are many things which we have to go in. I feel that we need to big deliberation on sustainability to get to the whole world of safe chemicals to be used.
Prakash bhai,
Yeah, I agree with whatever Mr. Anjani Prasad has said. I agree with him totally. See, for example, in our area, we had this issue on flame retardants. So sooner or later, and then we had to shift to halogen-free flame retardants. So you have to ensure that all the flame retardants are halogen-free. For example, in durable water repellents also, previously there used to be C8 chemistry, which is now practically banned in the US and globally. Then you had C6, and now you have fluorine-free, which is completely C0. So we have oriented our focus more on improvement in all these aspects of ecology, etc., and giving them what the customer now wants for the future.
Super. Do we have Mr. Chari with us to respond to this? Mr. Chari? Okay. Ms. Rakhi, Mr. Bora, can I go to the last segment of the
Yes,
day?
please go ahead. I think we have covered all questions.
Okay. Thanks very much. It is now the end of day 3 and the time to summarize. Please email us at the Textile Forum at iaccindia.com. We will help you in all ways possible to increase sales to the United States, increase your sales from America to India. May I please invite Mr. Sharad Tandon, CEO, S. Tandon Consulting, our advisor at the IACC, to summarize the 3 days and end this session. Mr. Tandon, welcome.
Thank you, Harit bhai. As we come to the fag end of what's been wonderful 3 days of learning, thoughts and inspiration, I feel honored to be doing the summing up of the proceedings of this webinar, Indo-US Bilateral Partnership 2021 Focus Sector Textiles, organized and conducted by Indo-American Chamber of Commerce and its Textile Forum. The concept behind holding this innovative webinar comes from Sri Suresh Kotak, who dreams of and is working the hardest to realize synergies and strides of creating a highway for Indo-USA bilateral textile trade to grow manifold at express speed. Indeed, the potential is huge, more so if we follow his mantra to co-create and innovate jointly as partners. The message reinforced and sought to be translated to the ground by our IACC top leadership is by focusing on actionable steps to build this bridge. The strategy of working towards seamless integration of the textile industry of the 2 largest democracies and markets in the world is so simple and effective for creating wealth, as each dollar earned is a win-win for both. Mr. R.D. Udeshi, the keynote speaker, most eloquently hit the nails on the head. His point for India to make this a mission instead of piecemeal acts. His guidance to look at the synthetic sector as an opportunity for accelerated growth as a parallel sector and not replacing cotton is thought-provoking and actionable. His analysis of India's USP of agility is something we can use as a key component. Over 11 panel sessions, 40 speakers, moderated by industry legends, has thrown up a churn of knowledge, guidance from ground, so to say, for expanding textile trade between the 2 trade partners. What an amazing experience it has been. Decades of experience and exposure paled before the wealth of learning shared by the speakers. That in itself has been an eye-opener and so inspirational about the positivity prevailing among the successful entrepreneurs. I am sure this will be encouraging to the vast textile fraternity to take heed and explore with more vigor. We heard also in detail about the attractive investment opportunities in South Carolina and North Carolina. Among the products listed by the speakers that have scope for high growth are products to the USA, coated fabrics, garments with spandex fabrics with cotton and XL intimate blends, organic baby wear, outdoor living fabrics with functional benefits, technical consultancy and services, and specialty chemical for special finishes. To India, special fiber and yarns like Kevlar, technical textile know-how and collaborations. Of the few common threads that ran through speakers for those looking to sell in big way to the USA are: identify your USP, be committed to the long term, build personal relationships on one-to-one basis, set up a US presence. As well put by one of the top speakers, think of them as planning to buy a ticket. One goes to China and one to India. We just have to have them choose us first. What you can do to help him choose you. We at IACC are here to assist you for the same. What to buy from USA? Send us an email. We will put you in touch with the USA sellers. What to sell to USA? Send us an email. We will put you in touch with the USA buyers. All this is free and backed by IACC efficient backend. Over and above this, IACC has made its mission to increase textile trade between India and USA to $100 billion US. To that end, under guidance of the stalwarts associated with the IACC and its textile forum, we are embarking upon actionable and implementable steps via a series of events and reach outs proactively and collaborating with various industry associations. This webinar being just one of them. You shall hear from us shortly again about our next steps. In meantime, please sign up to our database. The sign up is free and the link is available on the IACC website. It's also my pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for the wonderful and most efficiently organized webinar on Indo-US Bilateral Partnership 2021 Focus Sector Textiles. First and foremost, my thanks to all the panelists, speakers, moderators for taking time out of their busy schedule and also for sharing with open heart and generosity their years of business acumen and wisdom. I am sorry for paucity of time. I am unable to name them individually. Please accept our eternal gratitude, ladies and gentlemen. My thanks to the sponsors of the event for supporting us. Well spun, Mr. Cherian Thomas, who have always been very supportive and have always been there helping us out with the requirements at the back end, with their knowledge and their monetary support. Satlaj, Mr. Ubdeep Singh, who is not only an industry leader himself, but supports all such initiative and make sure that these forums are able to reach out to the vast audience. Indocom, Mr. K.K. Lalpuria, Colorant, the leaders in dyes and chemicals, as their byline says, quality is colorant. Indocom, Mr. K.K. Lalpuria, not only a veteran and vast reservoirs of knowledge himself, but always so supportive of initiatives like this. We thank you all. Also thanks to our media partners, Textile Excellence, the Yarn Bazaar, the Textile Mirror, the Textile Value Chain, and Textile Excellence. My heartfelt thanks to Mr. R.D. Udeshi for gracing the webinar with his words of wisdom in the keynote address. A bow in humbleness to acknowledge the guidance and mentoring, apart from being involved in the finest points of this webinar that shows up in the result, to Mr. Suresh Kotak. Thanks to Mr. Purna Chandra Rao, National President IACC, Mr. Pankaj Bora, Regional President IACC, for the support granted to us all through. The thanks would be incomplete without naming my personal guide and mentor, who has been patient with our shortcomings, the dynamic and ever-energetic Mr. Harit Mehta, Chairman Textile Forum, IACC. Last but not the least, our IACC team, who have worked silently but tirelessly to arrange behind the scene logistics and the technological nightmare such an event can be. That it has gone through so smoothly is a tribute to their hard work and sincerity. I would like Mrs. Rakhi Sikka, Regional Director IACC, Mr. Satyanarayan Rath, Deputy Director IACC, Mr. Vishnu Latish, Mr. Sagar, and the IACC team to please take a bow. Finally, I would like to end by saying this is a mission we are on of $100 billion textile trade between India and USA, with a motto on our lips: if it is to be, it is up to us. I now welcome Mr. Suresh Putak to please share his wisdom and guidance to the forum and inspire us all forward. Mr. Suresh Putak.
Well said, well said.
Thank you. Thank you very much, all the friends. Let's work as a nation. What Tandanji said, I also resonate that let's work as a nation, as a country, and let's all of us get together and work because this is a time, because there is no India is and can be a very good alternate supplier, which every panelist has said, and the world requires it, America requires it, and we have all the different kind of industries. Our supply chains have to be strengthened, and that has been focused all around. It was very efficiently done by the team, the advisor, and also encouraging our Pankaj Bhai Vora, as well as all of the people who have worked relentlessly, Rakhi, Satya, Vishnu, Sagar, people have worked relentlessly, and the moderators. All the moderators have been par excellence, and every one of them has done an excellent job. And all the sessions were filled with lot of knowledge, lot of guidance, lot of identification and explorations, which can lead and make us a thriving country in textiles, both of us, bilaterally and also multilaterally, and we can work out with the prosperity of both. And good wishes to all of you. Let us work. Today's action and today's thinking is the destiny of tomorrow. Friends, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Well done.
This wonderful program wouldn't have been possible without your guidance and blessings. All of us, all the office bearers of IACC, all participants, all speakers, moderators, every one of us are grateful to you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you all. Well done, well done.
Thank you.
Yes.
Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, all of you, for participating. We are indeed very happy to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Thank you very much.
And we formally now close this 3-day webinar.